A lot of guys that I work with, they think you jump in and you get like the fat client and like, oh my God, life is perfect.
The ideal client is one, someone who has a good following, but honestly, followers don't even matter. It's all about the engagement, like the type of people that are following them.
For some reason, every single guy that I know that does really well, you always go through like a couple of bullshit clients.
From those shitty clients, they learn, okay, here's what I don't ever do again, and here's what I do. Not having a client is a lot better than having a horrible client. Some people do that, it doesn't go their way. Try again. It might not go your way. You just gotta try again. But most people just give up right then. But the people who can push through obviously make the most money. It's just really hard with the uncertainty of like looking ahead, seeing nothing, and still putting in the work.
Alright guys, so in today's video, I'm gonna be talking to Isaiah. He's been in the growth accelerator for about 3 to 4 months at this time right now. Funny enough, before we got on the call, he was at 23K for the month. He ended the call because he has to go to a sales call. And the day after, his business partner texted me, letting me know that they're now at 29K. Anyways, today we're mainly just gonna talk about his journey, what he went through, how he like got started in the space, how he took advantage of these big creators that obviously have big followings, and how you can do the same. All right, boys, welcome back to another freaking video. This is another student interview today with Isaiah, Zach's business partner. And today we're just kind of go through, I guess, Isaiah, your story. I know we texted the other day, you said to do so far 23K this month, on track for 30 this month. So you don't have the typical story where it's like, I get in week 1, get in week 2, make a boatload of cash, but you guys have more of that like progressive story that came and happened. So I think it's interesting for a lot of people to see where you guys went through, what you had to do together. So I guess give us like a rundown of like what you guys do and the type of creators you work with right now.
So right now we have 2 creators. One does TikTok shop mentorship. The beauty about him is he doesn't do the mentoring himself. He has the top TikTok shop affiliates in the world. It's like an agency kind of, so it's scalable. And then the other one does phone reselling. For both of them, we manage our sales teams, backend system, all the stuff you do as a growth partner. Yeah, for the first one, or for the one that does TikTok shop, we've been working for him for about a month and a half. And the first month we got into 100K, and this month we've already done 150. So it's a good month for him. And then the other guy, his account got banned, so unfortunately right now it's at a pause. But we have ads that we're rolling out for him the minute he gets back up, which should be in the next day or 2.
Okay. And so far right now, the month, you guys, so you said, so I guess, because I get the numbers that you told me, but like right now, how much are you guys at? And then how much you guys set to do, I guess, by the end of this month?
Yep, so right now we're still at 23K. End of the month, hoping to finish off at 30K, but, might be stuck at 23K. 23K isn't that bad, though, so I'll be
Yeah, I mean, for you, where you guys were started at, I think it's actually really freaking good. Well, I guess I know we spoke a minute ago, so I guess give people a bit of more feedback from the J, like let's go back. I get all the way back to like when you first like saw our content, found out about Malcolm and I. How'd that happen?
So I ran a organic marketing agency, and I was actually hitting you up to try to get you as a client, and you hit me with, I forget what you said to me, but you basically said like, yo, you should make a lot more. And I really like hit a nerve in me. I was like, this guy's probably right. You sent me over to Malcolm. I had a call with him. I was dead broke. I've invested a lot of money into mentorships and programs. I always like try to just put all the money on my bank account, put it back to myself. And on
Yeah.
that call with Malcolm, I was like, I had nothing. I had bills to pay. But he managed me to give him the last amount of money in my bank account. Best decision I ever made. But it was obviously really scary.
Yeah.
And in the GA, I was really shocked at like how much information there was in it. A lot of courses, there's like not even 1/10 of the stuff in there, like just like the course section, not even 1/10 most courses have. So
Pretty good.
that really shocked me. I went through some of the stuff. I got to the back end stuff. And I'm not gonna lie, I was like, there's no way I'm doing this. I come from, like I said, an organic marketing background, sales background. Those are my 2 specialties. Back end seemed like a lot of stuff that I didn't know, and sure, I could have spent, a few months learning it, but time is money. So I linked up with someone else, and it was actually like the perfect scenario because up to that point, I was looking for a business partner.
Yeah.
So I think the most valuable thing I got from GA was just the connections from it. Obviously, I wouldn't be in the position I am in right now if it wasn't for my business partner. But
Mhm.
more like the information, like I said, I was already good with sales and marketing, but there were some tidbits in there that I really learned a lot from. And the calls were also super useful in the beginning because obviously the growth partner game, there's a lot of things to master. So I had a lot of questions for you
Yeah.
guys, and you guys answered them pretty well. And there was just a lot of people that were going through it that was in the same stage as me. So I kind of like could talk to multiple people, like, oh, where are you at? What do you do? That really helped out a lot too.
Okay, yeah, because I do remember that. But when you started, like, I guess run people through maybe like those first couple clients that you had. Because I always tell people, like, a lot of guys that I work with, that we obviously work with and stuff, or people that even text me on IG, they think you jump in and you get like the fat client and like, oh my God, life is perfect. But it's for some reason, every single guy that I know that does really well, you always go through like a couple bullshit clients, right? So I guess run me through more of like those clients that you had to work with. And something that people are always asking me about is like, why are clients less good or why are clients like better than the others? So I guess run people through like the more of the hardships that happen in the beginning, because that's just like the reality of it. I think that'd be interesting.
Yep. Yeah. So our first client, I was studying for this one guy, and I actually went on his account, and someone DM'd him was like, "Yo, I need help with this," and I went on his account and said, "DM Isaiah Treywin." We got him that way. He had a pretty good following, and he was actually getting really good engagement. And since he was our first client, we didn't charge a retainer; we just charged a performance fee. It sounded good in the beginning, but we learned the hard way that you should never do that because when a client doesn't pay, they don't pay
Yeah.
attention. The obvious line. So we did a rev split with him, and like we just saw the followers, right? We didn't do any fact checking. We didn't do any deep dive in his audience. We just saw the followers, and we're like, oh my god, we're gonna print. Obviously, that's not how it turned out. His whole audience was from India, and they were all 13 years old. So I mean, we still made him 10K his first month, which is like it doesn't sound too bad to the naked eye. It's not anywhere near what we projected, and we soon realized like it's gonna be really hard to get this guy to 50K a month at least.
Yeah.
And on top of that, he did not like we were telling him to do certain things and he didn't do them. And you're at like the ideal client is one someone who has a good following, but honestly, followers don't even matter. It's all about the engagement, like the type of people that are following them, and the
Yeah.
loyal people that are following them too. But secondly, if you're telling your client to do something and they're not doing it, it's very hard to scale them because, I mean, if you tell them to make a VSL and they don't, and you script it out for them and they don't,
Yeah.
there's nothing you can do. Obviously, like that's just one small piece of the puzzle, but
Yeah.
you need a client who actually wants to work. Like most of our clients are like, yeah, I kind of want to bring you guys on so I don't have to work at all. But one of our clients, which is our most successful client, has told us like I want to work full time and then add you guys in as a bonus, which I think that's like the perfect client because he's gonna make all the videos in the world. He's gonna make all the VSLs, everything, and on top of that, he's bringing you guys in. So together, I mean, it's just bound to work. Um, but yeah, our first client was really tough because he didn't listen and had bad following. Second client, similar thing, except he actually did do the work.
Yeah.
But another big thing is clients' egos. Which I mean, if I had 400,000 followers, I would have an ego too. We all would. Um, but they think that their offer is amazing, right? So like
Yeah.
for our second client, we were doing a low ticket, which also low ticket is horrible, but he wanted to do low ticket, and we were charging $50 a month, and he thought it was like the best offer that he like. We suggested he changed it. And he's like, no, this is perfectly fine. We obviously did not end up doing great numbers with him. So again, he had a big following, but they were all 13 years old, so it was really hard to sell. So our first two clients, they were really tough to get, and on top of that, they were horrible clients in terms of like what we made off them. They were really good experiences because we learned a lot from them, which is, I think that's why, like like you said, the most successful growth partners have to go through those shitty clients. But it's because from those shitty clients they learned, okay, here's what I don't ever do again, and here's what I do. Like for that first client, we knew after that, okay, we have to charge retainers. For the second client, we learned, okay, we're never doing low ticket ever again. So those were our first two clients. The third and fourth, solid, and then just went up from there. But those first two clients, it took us 1.5 months to get the first client. We worked with him for a month, then dropped him. And the second client, it took us 3 weeks to get, and then we worked with him for a month and a half, and we dropped him. But
Yeah.
the second client, we signed on a contract where he has to pay us 3 months of retainer. So we still got the money, like the full money for it, but obviously no rev split for the last 2 months.
Yeah.
And then these last two clients, we still work with them.
Okay. I guess the super interesting thing that's like good to mention you mentioned there is follower count doesn't matter as much, but we've seen people with 400,000 followers that don't crush it that much. Quality of the audience matters, engagement. probably look for like if people are asking stuff in the DMs, people are messaging them about certain things, people are commenting. If they already have people who are like basically asking them to buy shit before they sell it, that's really good. But I feel like the main point that you mentioned here is that like the biggest thing in the space is if a client trusts you, they're gonna work way harder. And the second thing, you want a client that sees you as a person who pours like oil to the fire. If you're building the whole house for them, it's just not gonna work. You need to just be like the engine. Like they need to build the car, anything's been put together, and then you guys put the car together, whatever it is, and you're just the engine that keeps them. They're the engine, but you're the car. Like you got to change the specs, got to improve the car, the exhaust, whatever that is, right? And I feel like it's super important. But for some people, in the beginning, it's tough because you're the first 1 to 2 creators. They might not really trust you. So if they don't trust you, they're not gonna do everything exactly as how you want it to be. And so it's gonna be you're gonna have to like you kind of it's weird to explain, but the coaching space is a bit more of a networky type of place. So you have to like break into it, and then you have to break into it in the sense of like people have to know you as the guy who can actually sell info, because everyone's trying to say they sell info, but you guys right now, I mean, you guys have the authority. Like you have the things to back it. You guys have the authority. People talk to you. They can tell now that you understand the sales process. They can tell you know how to write copy. They can tell your systems are good. All that shit is good now. But like what I'm trying to tell people, I think is important, like to say today is like, once you go through all that BS, you don't have to deal with it anymore. You don't have to deal with the bullshit of like, you guys haven't proven yourselves. So I guess that's like the main first thing I wanted to say. But what would you say is here's something interesting. What would you say is the main mistakes that you think you made in the beginning, and most like other growth operators, like high ticket growth operators make, that would say maybe slowed you down the most that you could have avoided?
First is thinking that we would make 20K our first month. It's possible, but it's really really hard in this space. Um,
Yeah.
Second, because after our first few clients, we started kind of thinking like a year long term instead of like next month, which I think helped out a lot. But the second thing is not settling for bad clients. After those 2 clients, we had multiple people that did want to work with us. We saw that either their follower like quality wasn't good, they didn't want to put in the work. We had one guy who was basically saying that after we get him to 50K a month, he wanted to dip out and like not work with us anymore. So that just showed us like, okay, this guy isn't thinking long term. So I think the majority of it. I mean, I'm glad we got those first 2 clients, but after that, the thing that we did well was not settling for bad clients. Because in my opinion, not having it depends on the person, but not having for us, not having a client right now is a lot better than having a horrible client. Obviously, right now we do have clients, but
Yeah.
I would much rather do the work and build up my connections and get a good client instead of just like selling for a client who has like 5,000 followers on TikTok and you're never gonna print for him.
Mhm.
Um, but I mean, in the beginning we just had like a bunch of it was just like the newcomer stuff. Like, oh, we hopped on a sales call with the guy. He told us he needed 2 weeks to think about it, to work with us, and then we waited those 2 weeks, and then he picked someone else, so we just lost 2 weeks. So like that was a big mistake we made. But I mean, also one other thing that we made a mistake in the beginning for our first client is we didn't kind of have any authority over him, right? So he didn't think of us as business partners. He just thought of us as employees, which is really bad because he's not going to listen to you. So like we would tell him to do something, he wouldn't do it, and we weren't really like hammering home that. We were being all nice, like, oh no, it's fine, take your time, whatever. We should have been a lot more aggressive on that because if we were, we would have made him money. Our mindset was we don't want to be too mean to him, so he leaves us. But looking back on it, we should have been a lot more aggressive on him, like, yo, we need this done by tomorrow, instead of, oh no, you can take a week to do it, you can take a month to do it, take 10 years to do it. I don't care. Like we were just way too nice to that first client. So I think that's a big mistake that a lot of people struggle with their first client, especially because they
Yeah.
want to keep them so badly. Like they want to just hold on to them for dear life. They can't fathom not having a client anymore. Like I said, in my opinion, it's a lot better to have no clients than to have a horrible client.
That definitely is true. We made that mistake sometimes in the beginning, and it's like you hold on to like nothing. Then you're like, all right, fuck, I should just let this guy go
Yep.
before. And what mistakes do you feel like the GA and just working with Malcolm and I directly, the calls and everything, what mistakes how much time do you feel like you saved by us actually working together? And obviously you met Zach in there, and Zach was also in the mentorship, and he learned a lot with us and stuff. But what do you feel like? What time did you save? What do you feel like money you saved in general?
So, I mean, like, there was a few different things where, like, one of my questions to you was in the first call was like, should I hire a setter from like a third world country? And you guys were like, absolutely not. Like, you need him from the U.S. or U.K. or whatever countries. So in the beginning, I had a lot of like dumb questions for you guys. It was good that I asked them, but there was a lot of questions where like, if I didn't ask you guys, I would have spent probably a month, 2 months just on that one thing, and then figured out, okay, this doesn't work.
Yeah,
So I think you guys portrayed your kind of experiences and failures on us, like on me especially, so that I learn from your mistakes instead of mine.
yeah,
Because obviously learning from others' mistakes is a lot better than learning from your own.
yeah, 100%.
But
Yeah,
I think it was just the mistakes that you guys went through. You told me about them, and I took them, so I didn't have to go through that fire. You guys already did it for me. So I think that was the biggest thing.
yeah, 100%. And I will say, I think for most, a lot of times people do these interviews and they try to make the other person as if like he was a total beginner. That's not the fact. Like I'll be honest. Like I think when you came in, you were like you still had that like you were smart. Like I could tell you the good thing about most people that come in into the GA is like you guys have tried stuff by yourself and like maybe it hasn't completely clicked, and then you get into this vehicle of like the coaches and everything where it's a new vehicle, and so it's like okay, you know a bit about sales, so how do we add the sales process and how do we boost your current skill sets? Like how do we now maximize them into the right vehicle, and then it just jumps up, and then because you've been in info for longer, we can then just tells you, yo, avoid all these mistakes in info. But like I don't want to paint this picture for people where it's like you're like a total beginner, like a total goofus, and all of a sudden within a couple months like your life changes. So I think it's important to mention, but yeah, I
Yeah.
think like you said, I think that's a lot of the value that people are kind of coming for is like, hey, you have somewhat of a skill set, and most people who are gonna watch like they've tried a bunch of shit, so like hey, they know that they have to follow up on someone because or else they're not gonna show up. Like they're not dumb people, but it's like how can we just boost that, take it to the next level? Uh, I guess going from I'm curious. I'm curious to know this actually. I didn't don't ask this very much, but before you joined the GA, like what did you expect, and then like I guess which parts of it kind of like were exceeded your expectations in a sense.
Yeah, so I'm sure you know who Eddie Cumberbatch is. I just took his course right before I took your guys' course, and
Okay.
his course left a very I he's a good guy, but his course just I was expecting something else. So when I was like right before I onboarded for you guys, I was thinking like, okay, these guys are doing the same exact thing as him, and I'm just gonna join and I'm gonna get no value from it. Like I said, when I joined, I saw like the amount of course material that automatically like was way worth the money that I spent. And on top of that, the group calls obviously helped out a lot. But yeah, going into it, I just thought like it was a growth. Like Eddie uses the term growth operating. I thought it was just like a growth operating thing.
Yeah.
Um, and I was well aware that like I was gonna need to learn a lot of stuff because prior to joining you guys, I've been in business for a few years, so like I had some skill sets built up. But to be good in the growth partner space, you need like I've heard you say that's not a beginner business model. People think it is. It's not. Like you need every single skill set to be good at it. So I knew that going into it, I was gonna learn at least something. But I mean, just the course itself, I learned so much from it. And
Yeah.
if I came into it with no business experience, I would have paid 20K for that because the amount of information in there was I can't say enough. It was a
Yeah.
lot of information in there.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I definitely appreciate that, and I've told you Zach like multiple times. Like, I think it's like really crazy. I think people that might watch might not realize like Zach had his other agency. You guys went down to zero, and like rebuilt everything. You guys are like living together right now or something, right? People don't know.
Yep.
Like, this is what I tell people all the time. Sometimes you have every single guy that I have an interview with, at some point, put everything on the line, and just said fuck it. And like you guys, I remember Zach texting me like, "Yo, Isaiah came over. We got this crib. I removed my other like editing clients that were like goofy. Everything's on the line. We're eating rice and just rice and beef, whatever." And I was like, "Bro, what?" And like literally a month after, and I was like, telling Zach like, "Bro, good luck." Da 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 da. And then a month and a half after, everything just pops off. So it's like, obviously, right now we're talking about how good
Yeah.
the GA was and everything like that, but I do really want to ask you about that. Of like, how does that feel? How does that difference feel? Because like I've seen the last 3 months and it was a lot. So how does it feel to be like where you're at right now? And how does it feel to have like actually put everything on the line, said really fuck it, and put yourself like literally at the brink of like losing most of what you have, So like where you're at right now.
Yeah. So I want to preface by saying I've done that same exact thing plenty of times before I joined the GA, like risked it on the line. It didn't work out any time in the past,
Hmm.
which is why it sucks because there's a high chance of it not working out. And it's really just scary taking that leap. But I mean, with our first client, like I said, we dropped everything. We made him 10K, but we dropped him. So then we were clientless in January. We got another client in February or end of January, dropped him in March. When I moved in to this house, I had $1,000 in my bank account, barely could pay rent, barely could afford anything for the next month, and we had zero clients because that last client we had, like we weren't working with him anymore. We were still getting a retainer because of our contract, but we weren't getting
Yeah.
rev split. So it was like I moved in here and we didn't have a single client that we were collecting rev split from. Within a week of me moving in here, we signed our biggest client to date. So I mean, the feeling of that was, don't get me wrong, it was super scary. I sold my car. I used to live in New Jersey. I sold my car in New Jersey. Came up here like I dropped everything. Just one little suitcase. Came back up, or luggage case. Came up here. Like I said, after a week, that first week, it was like it wasn't fun. Like seeing that we had no client, it was not fun at all. And I don't know how it happened, but we got that client. Um, but yeah, it was extremely scary. But like you said, every person that I know that makes a lot of money, same thing. They've had to do one point where they just had to drop everything, risk everything, and it turned out well. And obviously, that's not for everyone, right? Some people do that and it doesn't go their way, but then you just got to try again, and then it might not go your way. You just got to try again. But that point of like getting all the way down, getting up, getting down again, most people just give up right then and there. But the people
Hmm.
who can like push through, obviously make the most money. It's just really hard with the uncertainty of like looking ahead, seeing nothing, and still putting in the work.
Yeah, that's, but that's pretty wild because you say that Malcolm and I about like a year or so ago, a year and a half or something, we did the exact same thing. I flew to Charlotte and we were both like almost like completely broke. It's like we were checking our accounts every time we were buying something, and we said like fuck it. And at that time we cooked that same client and the client that changed our life. So it's really crazy. That's why like I'm like generally super happy for you guys because like I seen that and I was like, at first, with Zach. At first, I was like, all right, are these guys are really gonna partner the proper way? Because you guys were busting
Yeah.
your asses, and I was like, when Max told me everything about like you guys were in the crib, barely like this, just working every single day. He showed me the pictures. I was like, all right, these guys are actually serious, and there's not a lot of people who take it this serious. But I'm gonna preface because of like how good you guys are doing. You have a sales call right now, so I don't wanna. That's right. You have a sales call, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't wanna overextend or whatever. But anyways, before we end it ends off on a fucking perfect time because you have your sales call, so hopefully push up that 23K or after the call. But if I could end you with like one question, I guess what would you say to anyone who's obviously views are up and everything? So what would you say to anyone who's thinking about getting the GA, thinking about working with Malcolm and I, or maybe they're looking at the other guys that are in this space, the other growth operators who sell stuff. So their names, they're all bigger than us. But what would you say to people who are thinking about it, but they're like, I don't know, I'm not sure about this.
So first off, the whole business model as a whole, I believe is the best business model in the whole world. So obviously, you guys have been. It's not that you guys didn't do it and then just try to teach it. You guys went through all the trial and tribulation, every single part of it, every single step of it, and then after you guys were scaled up a lot, then you decide to change other people's lives. But the most important thing is you guys did it. So you can't not, no one can knock you for that. You guys did it, and then took your mistakes that you learned and put it all into one single thing. Have group calls. So people like I want to say, if anyone's thinking about doing the growth partner business, you can do it by yourself. But if you don't join somewhere like the GA, it's going to be a whole lot harder and it's going to be a whole lot slower. You can still be successful. It just might take 5 or 6 years. But if you have Yusuf and Malcolm in your corner, I mean, it's going to accelerate your growth so much, and it's going to be so much easier. So that's just the main thing. It's just going to make it faster and easier.
Okay.
I don't know about everyone else, but I would rather have something fast and easy than long and hard.
Yeah, bro. I can't really knock that. We spend on mentorships and coaching every single year, so bro, who the fuck has time to wait, bro, when we're trying to like live life big? So yeah. Well, honestly, bro, I appreciate you. I don't want you to miss your call, that client to dip or whatever. So I appreciate your time. Honestly, really good. I'm wishing the best to you and Zach. I think with the work ethic you guys have and how much you sacrifice, you guys can go to 50, 100. So who knows where we might do another one of these interviews. So yeah, I appreciate you for being here. And then guys, I'll be seeing you soon. If you want to book a call with me personally, you're talking to me, not a freaking closer, then book a call below and then I'll talk to you guys soon. Isaiah, see you, bro.
Peace.